Good. All right, friends, I said I would continue, and I would love to if I could just get my script onto the... Yes, there we go. Okay. All right. So yesterday we ended with today's talk, and today I'll do yesterday's talk. And today, coming right down into somewhat more practical area, is the idea of the varieties of will. Now, what I want you to think about is the kind of will that you need to take your next step. Obviously, you have a wide selection. And the question is, what can you really apply in this sort of first-ray context to move ahead to that which you really inwardly must do? Now, these kinds of will, this is not all by any means, but the will to be, the will to synthesize, the will to good. You've heard these words all the time, I'm sure. The will to create, the will to preserve, the will to destroy. That's the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva aspect of it all. And then again, the will to create in another context. The will to create, the will to fulfillment. See, will to create is Aries, will to fulfillment is Leo. The will that overcomes death, what sign? Right, Capricorn, okay. Then come the 7 ray aspects of the will. The will to initiate, ray 1, will to unify, ray 2, will to evolve, ray 3, will to harmonize, ray 4, will to act, ray 5, will to cause, ray 6, will to express, ray 7. And then you have we're not going to go into this because the next part, but you should be aware, there are 12 zodiacal aspects of the will. So according to your sun sign, your rising sign, and the sign opposite your sun sign, those will be especially important in a zodiacal sense. And then, of course, the planetary wills. We have all of these different planets. Let's say we have 10, okay? And each one of them has a specific type of will associated with it. So out of all of that, you should be able to come up with what you need. See, the application of will is not the same as desiring something to happen. You desire, you can desire till you're blue and it won't happen. But will provide that it happens. So just a quick little review. Yesterday I decided that any universe is a temporary, apparent, illusory exile from absoluteness. Well, that ought to do it. This is the X of... All right. Well, it's just the Maya, and Maya is so mysterious. The great sage Shankara said, most mysterious is Maya and forever. That stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the Viveka Kudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination. Wonderful little book. And by the way, someone talked just the other day about the books that Master D.K. said you should have in your hand, right? The Bhagavad Gita, the New Testament, the Light of the Soul, and the Viveka Kudamani. Okay, so a great inspiring. So it's the crest jewel of discrimination. It takes you into the 4th initiation, which is imminent for all of us, right? Okay. All right. First, the will to be, right? So I was saying before, the will to be is really the will to exist in universe. It is the will which originates and later sustains presence in universe. It originates the universe and it sustains the presence of the universe and of any being in the universe. It's later to be destroyed by the will to destroy. Whatever comes together falls apart. This is the great Buddhist doctrine, and it's so true. So what comes forth, like you, like me, may be an emanation or maybe a combination of emanations, but it's all supposed to be aligned with the logoic divine purpose. And when we are purpose aligned, we really begin to live. The greatest example of this will to be, or more specifically, the will to exist in and as a universe, is the emergence of the universal logos repeatedly and infinitely, precipitated by the periodical arising of the ray of the Absolute, followed by the great choice of the self-observing absolute deity preceding the opening of the Mahamanvantara. Okay, that's as complicated as it's going to get. All right. But I think, that kind of sums it up, at least in my view of this philosophy. So, and then there's a whole question about post-prolaic and pre-universal time. Okay, you know, we can deal with that as we go along. It brings the universal logos into a state of periodical self-objectification. Actually, that's what we're doing too as souls. We have these periodical self-objectifications in the lower world. So the period of periodical is the existence of a universe, and a universe lasts as long as the universal logos lasts. All right, now let's get closer to home. That was a review. Now, closer to home and more useful to us as disciples, the will to be. It's a little different. You know, I was talking about the will to be as it descends into manifestation. Now, I'm talking about the will to be as we want to apply it, because Master DK says he's an initiate into the mysteries of being. And that should tell us something, he said. I don't know how much it told us, but maybe it should tell us he's a master. All right, so the will to be, from another perspective, is that power which drives the consciousness towards identification as being. Now, so in another way I call it the will to be being, the will to be being. Are any of you possessed by that will to be being? Yes, right? Yes, I mean the will to know, the will to love, the will to will, and of course, what's our real identity anyway? It is being, so we have the will to be being, and there are many techniques that we can use to do that. All right, now let's get into some, let's see if here I am, yeah. Get into the will to good. Now, I'm not saying these are the ultimate definitions, but they are types of will which are important for all of us to understand, and if we can, a little bit, apply it to our lives. So, the will to good is the will, okay, now we'll think together, which sustains primordial universal archetypes and brings them further and further into emanative existence until the furthest diminutive extension of a universally logoically willed emanation is reached. And I call that a UPI. Okay, I had to summarize it somehow, right? An ultimate particle event, which is the tiniest diminutive extension of the universal logos. You know, he could keep on going to infinity, except he wills to stop, or it wills to stop. So, more practically, the will to good carries the divine archetypal purpose deeper and deeper into manifestation, into existence, until apparently all apparently distinct things, i.e. perceptions, because all things are logoic self-perceptions, are ordered by archetypal goodness. So the will to good is the will to archetypal goodness working out in the world of becoming, where we're all living. In the world of being, no worries. It hangs out there, it's perfect. But in the world of becoming, we need to reflect the archetype. And every one of us has a secret name in our inner spiritual nature, in our inner monad, and we need to reflect that somehow over the years until our perfection in getting our little archetype out there means that if everybody does it, the divine will gets done. Okay. You know, this is superficial, but I give it to you in the crash bang manner, and I'll send it to you if you want to contemplate these things. The will to create, it shows up twice. The will to create emerges as the will to unfold the universal design, algorithm purpose, as the will to unfold the universal design, which all of us have, in all its beauty and diversity takes place. A finite portion of the absolute infinitude has been self-selected by the self-observing absolute deity, that's you and me, and it must be unfolded in universal objectivity in Mahamayavic exile. So the will to create sees to this unfoldment. In other words, what are we creating? We're creating the possibility that what we envisioned before a universe will actually take place. And all of our creations and our mistakes and all the rest of it go towards creating that perfect reflection of the archetype from above. We're not perfect yet, are we? But inwardly we are. So we've got to learn how to create our perfection in the lower worlds. Then you know how it is, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, right? The creator, the preserver, the destroyer, right? All of these types of will are part of your life, can be. And you have to concentrate on one or two to really make yourself happen. Okay, the will to preserve. is a sustaining power which holds a desired or archetypal energy force formation in a coherent state until it's ready to be destroyed according to the requirements of the divine plan and divine purpose. We might call this the will to hold it all together, you know, and I think it's an integrative type of will. And it's the preserver, it's Jupiter, it's the second ray. There's a desirable relationship which is understood in Buddhi as pure reason. Pure reason reveals the desirable archetypal relationship, and this will to preserve holds it together in the right way until it's no longer needed. Now, a lot of us, you know, we're really working with this type of will. The will to destroy, a first-ray power, which at best destroys in-universe relationships which have outlived their usefulness as conduits of the divine plan and the divine purpose. Destroying is good, you know, at a certain point, otherwise you get cluttered up with the past. And the whole thing about absolute infinity is it's always producing the ever new, ever new. It's just so paradoxical it could drive you crazy. Try it sometime. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah. Now, the will to create, I said a little bit about that, but it's also part of another series. Will to create, will to fulfillment. Okay. And the will which overcomes death. Now, the will to fulfillment, which all of us really want, you know, it's a big Jupiterian thing. The will to fulfillment emerges as the power to sustain the emanative path of each being in emanation through successive points of achievement. Through successive points of achievement. It is especially the power which assures the correct return of all of us, of each being in emanation, through successive points of achievement along the emanative path it originally followed from the one into the many. Now, so, you know, I'll try to sum it all up. We all want to be fulfilled, one fulfillment after another. And as we do so, our ring past knot keeps on expanding until, okay, from a very vast perspective, it's the will to re-become the universal logos in full consciousness. How can you be happy unless you reach that point? All right. Or maybe we never thought of that. I suppose this would be the time to stop being dizzy. When I start to read these things, I get a little dizzy. Okay, so from a vast perspective, just think of it. I mean, we round ourselves out. We become the monad. We become the amalgamated monad. The amalgamated monad becomes something else. 49 groups of solar angels become a planetary logos. This is that fusion of identity along the path of return. There's only one at the top. You can't have, you can't have gazillion at the top. There's only one. So how are you going to break your ring past knots? Along the way, you have to break your rings past knot. And this is what does it. And then you break one ring past knot after another and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and of course smaller and smaller and smaller at the same time. The will to re-become the universal logos in full consciousness. And that is the ultimate fulfillment in any universe. Right now it'd be enough to be a soul. Okay? Right. We're looking ahead. We've done it all. We've done it before. Okay. The will that overcomes death. This is the power which obviates, eliminates, makes unnecessary the loss of consciousness during the process through which one form of expression of the monad is exchanged for another. Death is all about consciousness, and if you don't lose consciousness, there's no death. So, you're not blanked out. There's a continuity of consciousness here. And from another point of view, the will that overcomes death in a more material sense is the power which can sustain a form in perpetuity. Now, Master R had that, okay? Though such an act, if one is not such a master, might be seen as death to consciousness, through limiting its growth and expansion by entrapping deathlessness, by the entrapping deathlessness of the sustained form. If you stay in the same form too long, your consciousness can't expand, unless you know how to really do it, okay? Okay, now, so, do you feel any relation to any of those types of will? I mean, these are little things that, we use this type of will, but we use it in a much attenuated fashion, okay? Much attenuated. We're little human beings here, and we don't use it in a cosmic sense, but one day we will. And I'll just end with the will to synthesize. This is interesting. It's a second ray power under the first ray. It's a second aspect under the first ray. It's the second ray power which not only brings all things as self-perceptions together, but reveals their essential nature as of one substance. What's the difference between unity and synthesis? We've pondered that a long time, haven't we? You know, what does he say? Synthesis is, and unity has to be created, right? Something like that. Okay, so, you know, when we have unity, we look at all things as harmoniously related in a single field, but the articulation of who we are remains. You're you, I'm me, this is that, and it's all seen in a kind of oneness together, but we don't lose sight. We don't lose sight of all the many things that are seen in the oneness, right? But in synthesis, it's very interesting. So powerful is the substratum of being that in the state of synthesis, all things are seen as the same. And in the Greek philosophers, you know, the same and other. That was their big thing, you know. And you have to hold same and other at the same time in your consciousness. Can we do that? I mean, can we look at all the articulation, all the differentiation? That's what I mean by articulation. One thing separate from another, like staccato notes in music, right? If we look at all this differentiation, we can be overwhelmed by it, but through the process, this is the word I coined, through the process of infuception, I like that one, okay. Through the process of infuception, we see the absolute identical substantiality of everything. It's all one thing, you know. At the same time, it's all different and it's all one thing, and we have to hold that in our minds. All right, well, is there anything left to say? Yes. All right, you know, on and on and on. But what is the type of will you are cultivating? See, we'll have a meditation on that today. Now that's the thing. You know, we all want to move ahead, right? Ahead, retracting along the emanative path that we have come from the one, right? It's going to take, you know, even a solar system is said to last for, what is it? 300 and, refresh me here. Oh yeah, 300 and, is it 310? 11, that, thank you, and 40 billion. Okay, 311 trillion and 40 billion years, and that's the solar system on the subjective level as well, right? Okay, so just think of that. And our little solar system is just a tiny little crystal compared to some of these larger structures. So we're talking about a long apparent time, which is no time at all. That's another matter, the superimposition of all time into eternal nowness, okay? That's a lot of fun. It'll drive you crazy, like it has me. Anyway, but right there, all right, that's a diversion. The question is, what is the type of will you need to take your next step? Is it what is it? You know, the will to know, the will to love, the will to be, what is it, you know? This is what we have to come up with, because we won't really move except randomly if we don't know the type of will we need and really, really cultivate this will. It all gets very, very practical. Up here in the stratosphere, there's all kinds of wills going on, making things appear, sustaining them, holding the whole universe in presence and objectivity. But right down here at the end of our tiny little emanative stream is a necessary will for each one of us, and we've got to select that and work on it. I think my wife would tell me, for me, it's the will to clean up. All right. Yesterday I was blessed by a sudden descent of the will to stop. So now that's going to happen again, the will to stop. Okay, it's over. Thank you.